Hello and welcome to a video of the Polestar 4, which is the car that Polestar are hoping will be their most successful model in the future. And the price of it certainly will hopefully help that. But today here on Nobby on Cars, we're going to have a quick look around at the inside and the outside of this beautiful looking SUV coupe from the famous baby brother of Volvo. Much like the larger Polestar 3, the front has a very sleek, beautiful design. These headlights are now split, these kind of hammerhead design on them. This version of Polestar will have not a full backlit logo, but around the edges will light up in the dark when you're stopped. I can only assume that's EU regulations that just like to come and spoil the fun. But that very sleek nose gives you a 0.26 drag coefficient, which, as you probably know by now, has a massive influence on aerodynamics, as do these door handles that pop in and out, but obviously in when the car is on the move. The car itself is just under 5 meters long, but the wheelbase, the point from here to here, is pretty much 3 meters. So one benefit of the biggest talking point of this car, which is the fact that it hasn't got a rear window, means the interior space is actually really big, and that's where the SUV comparison comes in. Back in the day, you would go 22-inch wheels, what? This car is sitting on 22-inch, and if you don't mind me saying so, they don't look huge. I mean, they are huge, hiding these massive Polestar calipers and the gold-coloured valves, which are 25 quid a piece, apparently, if people do decide to nick them off your car. You can change this colour on the bottom part, but it kind of needs the two different colours to break up the side of the car, which is full of sensors and mirrors, as you can imagine. Cameras pointing this way, that way, 360 overview, really sharp graphics, and that one peering back this way. This sloping roofline, which is glass, that comes as standard on all the cars. The main talking point camera, however, is back here. So one is for your ADAS sensors, the other is in place of a window. That's right, there's no window on the back of the Polestar 4. This groove is intentional because this would look quite bland if it was just a sheet of the same color, of which, by the way, there are 6 colors that you can choose. The one that's standard is magnesium, which is a metallic, but that's the one that's standard. Everything else is an optional extra. So there's the price on the car, 68,600 plus delivery, which brings it up to fairly close to 70,000 if you add metallic paint and delivery charge. There's also a long range dual motor, which is 76.2, that ups the performance, gives you power to both wheels, both drivetrains, and changes your range from over 600 kilometers to the high 500s WLTP. One thing you might want to add to your car is a plus pack, which is €6,300. Polestar say a lot of Irish customers are opting for that. It took me about 30 seconds to scroll through this shot to include all the stuff you get. So while €6,300 is a lot of money when you're spending almost 70, the value in that, between head-up display, 3-zone climate control, heated everything including rear seats that recline, additional ambient lighting, a 22 kilowatt onboard charger, there's a huge amount packed into that, and if you just spec all those bits separately, it would cost you a lot more than €6,300. So yes, it's a big enough jump, but there's a lot in that pack. If you think of the winglets on certain aircraft that help with turbulence and airflow, that's what these do. So the airflow comes over the roof of this car, over the sloping roof line, down over the back. Usually this is where the disrupted air happens, but these will offset that. Now let me show you around the boot, which for starters, I love this. It's just, these cars are all about attention to detail, and up here in the carpeting we have a Polestar logo grooved in, and yes, they still have one in the roof, don't worry. This boot area is 526 litres. Under here is additional storage of about 30. You can put your cables under here. We have some netting. There's a 12-volt charger, and because there's no window, you can open this part if you want to communicate with your rear passengers, and obviously you can leave that open all the time if you like. It's not going to cause any additional light, but you might just want to keep that open. Big sub here if you get the Harman Kardon sound system, which is also part of that pack that I just mentioned. So generous boot. This floor also rises onto this lip if you don't need the extra bit of space. 526 litres, so pretty generous. Whether you're on board with the idea of no windscreen or not, this is where it comes into its own. So a lot of SUV coupes, you're going to lose a bit of headspace, and it's still tight. Now, I have these seats upright. If you get that pack that I mentioned, you can recline these back and sort of lounge in the back of the car. Dare I say it, it's potentially a car that you could use if you have a chauffeur. If you get certain packs, again, that I mentioned, you'll get 3-zone climate controls. You get your own screen down here, two USB-C charging points. This obviously rises up just to give you a middle seat if you like. The Napa, which you can get as an optional extra, is produced in Scotland in the same factory that provide seats for Bentley and Rolls-Royce. So that's a nice bragging point down the pub. As you look around, the bits of metal that shouldn't be exposed are not. Lovely air vents. Just all round it feels really, really bright. The base of this car will have a black interior with black seats, so worth pointing out that some of what you see in the car is an optional extra. Plenty of leg room and knee room and foot room, and everywhere you look, mats, tops of seats, all you see are signs to tell you that a huge amount of recycling has gone in. The way runners are made with 3D printing and fully sustainable materials, that's how these seats are created. There's no waste from how they're manufactured, unlike leather, for example, and other plastics where you just have to cut off bits and make materials with seats. There is literally no excess when you make the seats in these Polestar vehicles. There's a lot of kind of putting their mouths and money where their mouth is. The CO2s used to produce these cars is 19 tonne as it leaves the factory. So Polestar are also being quite upfront about how much energy is used to create these cars. Obviously, I haven't tested this car on the roads, but efficiency is somewhere around 17 to 18 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers for the single motor. The dual motor is obviously a little bit thirstier than that. And again, as these seats kind of readjust for your safe position, that is a part of that infamous, at this stage, pack worth €6,000. First thing you'll notice here is a big volume knob. That's all it does. It looks like it could do other things, like the new widget system in Skoda and VW, for example. It doesn't do that, and it's quite a nice slant on it. There's additional storage below. Steering wheel very similar to what we've seen in other Polestar vehicles, but again, as you just touch it, the thickness of the materials used, you know you're getting a premium product. If you go for the pack, again, just keep talking about the pack, behind here is an additional ambient lighting. There is already some on the door, but you get more there. You notice a driver monitor up here, which as usual can be manipulated depending on how much you like things monitoring you. An armrest that goes under here is more USB-C charging, bit of storage, another plate here for your phone, one central air vent, 10-inch screen for the driver with a head-up display. If you have that pack, you get another sub on top of the dash from Harman Kardon. A lot of the information you're going to want is behind a screen. Climate control on a bar down the bottom, but it is still on a screen. To be honest with you, the idea of physical controls in this car would seem a bit mad. Simply because there's just so much tech in it, it would be a little bit unusual. 11 kilowatt AC charging is standard. Get that pack, that'll jump to 22. And there's just one battery size, 100 kilowatt hour, which is the gross size. You can charge that at up to 200 kilowatt, which is all right. Certainly fast by today's standards, but very quickly that will probably be a little bit out of date. I'm not saying short term, but the way I'm sitting, you feel quite close to the roof, actually in the front. Now there is a bit of adjustability on this, but the seat doesn't go down any lower. So again, taller people, you might want to check that out, because the way this headlining comes in to give you the roof where it joins, it is a little bit snug. And I'm 175 centimeters, so by no means a giant. So overall, a beautiful looking car from Polestar. Wasn't really expecting anything less there. Really great build quality and materials used. It feels premium, and the price commands premium, to be fair. But I think when you look at what you're getting in the car, obviously that pack I've mentioned multiple times, a bit of value in that. It's going to look really cool. You're not going to see a huge amount of these on the road. Polestar would love probably you to see more, but you're going to get that sort of exclusivity going on from an EV that should, if you get to certain type of night rates at home, for example, and you charge between 2 and 5 in the morning, you're not going to get a full charge of that, but you will be able to charge a car like this for like much less than a cup of coffee. And that's probably the maths that you can do to offset the purchase price versus fueling a car with this performance. And even the single motor I think will be enough with the pack. Yes, the dual motor is there as an option. Just don't know if we'll need it in Ireland. I am looking forward to driving it to see does the driving dynamics stack up as well as it looks. But I think if you go to the market here in Ireland and see all the different ICE vehicles as well as diesel and compare it and kind of put them side by side, that's where this car could get quite interesting. It'll be on the road to test from August. First Irish customers getting their cars in August. If you were to order one now, for example, you'll probably see it October, November. That'll be the dilemma then. Do you want to wait for the 251 plate? But that's kind of where order books are now. So they're open, but unless you get a cancelled order or something like that, if you're ordering fresh from now, it'll be the end of the year before you get one. What do you think of this car? In some ways, I don't want to say a squished Polestar 3 because it's actually wider. The guys were saying you can park this car behind a Range Rover Sport and it's actually wider. So that gives you an idea of, it's quite a spacious car. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Have you ordered one? Are you a Polestar 2 customer who's now going, hang on a second, I like that? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching this first look review of the new Polestar 4.